Hello and welcome to the first episode of Off the Cuff. I am Jamie Vinkel, Senior Product Marketing Manager, and with me today is Ricardo. Ricardo, tell me and our audience, which I don't know, might be 2 people, 50 people, 100. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but tell our audience, which right now is me and my 2 greyhounds, a little bit about you.
I love dogs, so we're
I
in
know
good
this.
company.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ricardo Giuliani. I am the marketing director at a company called Icon. We basically are the biggest tattoo supplier in Canada. So basically, um, a lot of tattooers across Canada and the US can run their shops by buying their products at our e-commerce store. We also have a side, another side of the business, which is developing product. So we also manage that. We have our own IP and develop, our branded products that we also offer to tattooers across the world. So
There it
that's
is.
that's what I do, right
The,
now.
the tattoo game. Talk about
That's
a
right.
fun content ride. Um, Before I ask any questions, I just noticed the believe sign, and you've told me to watch Ted Lasso many times, and we finally did. I watched it with my wife, and we
Yeah,
we absolutely loved it. It was
it's
it
pretty great, right?
it is great, and it's also just it's funny, but also super inspiring, and there's some really good leadership, you know, uh,
Well,
lessons
that
to be
that
had in there.
believe that believe sign has like a bit of a story for me because my team was we all kind of, I said, hey guys, we should watch this because we're going, we're always changing, always trying to improve what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a bit of that vibe. I'm kind of, I think I'm funny, I'm not sure I am, but, I kind of have a lighthearted approach to things. And I'm all about the team and how we're going
Yeah.
to develop ourselves while we're doing this work. And then, yeah, this one day I get to my office and my team had put on that
No
sign on
way.
top of
They
my
put it
door.
up there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
Ricky
why I
Ricky
keep it.
Lasso.
Yeah.
I love
So
that.
but man, I just love there's so many lessons in that, and how someone that is not I guess we can relate to product marketing, not a subject matter expert. The guy
Right.
used to coach, high school football, American
Exactly.
football,
Yeah.
went to like another country, and he can translate. He can actually enhance what the team does. He can actually he is not. It's not about the technical understanding of what they do, but is about how you assemble a team, how you create a vision, and how you know how to create an environment where success becomes inevitable, right? I think that's one of the things that I really like about it, because I don't think that marketers these days understand the value of that. Sometimes too much metric driven for my taste.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I like that you bring up metric driven because it's I think about that all the time where like we've been doing marketing for a while now. Like we're measuring our careers in decades at this point, Ricardo.
Right. That's
I
right.
know
I know.
which is something. But I think about metrics and like attribution. And I know since we've started, everyone's been trying to figure out attribution in the metrics game. And here we are 10 plus years later, and no one's figured out attribution to the metrics game. But if you have, to your point, a good driven team with a good product and you're able to create that message together, it sounds cheesy, but like teamwork is dream work, whatever the hell people say, right? But it's true. Like when you're all firing on the same cylinder and have a good product, like things just happen. And sure, analytics are important, and like I understand the importance of dashboards and like understanding what works and what doesn't, but generally it's like if you just have those 2 core principles of like good people doing good work, that's the formula.
I think that that's like I'm reading the latest Seth Godin book, Impact. It is called The Song of Significance. So it's about doing significant work,
Mm,
and one of the lines in that is that I think it's kind of represents this thing we're talking about is um, we a honey is a byproduct of a healthy hive, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Like it's you're not, if you have a healthy hive, honey is inevitable. You
That's
know
right.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I find that because we have to play the corporate game, and because uh, in the corporate world, people like to measure easy things because that sounds great, like likes and follows and the sales numbers at the end of the day and how many leads you got. Like, so those are easy to pinpoint that, oh, look, we have success, right?
Hmm.
It's much harder to measure things that actually matter, in my
Totally.
opinion.
I agree. And
So I,
you can take those metrics, anybody, and you can cherry pick what you want to make what you're doing look successful, right? And that's
100%.
kind of, that's what happens a lot. But if you just have a good product that's a good fit and it works, that's all it is, right? Like, here's the product, here's the messaging, here's why you're gonna love it, here's why we love working on it, and just go with it, right? One other quick thing on the Ted Lasso, well, two things, because I love that show. And thanks again for recommending it. Sorry it took me so damn long to watch it. But spoiler alert, so if anyone hasn't seen it, like, here's your warning. I'm going to talk about
Yeah,
near
yeah.
the ending of season 3, but uh, I love the part where there's the book, because when we're in marketing, in product marketing especially, there's a lot of teamwork and revisions, and like we
Mhm.
work together on things with all the different departments. But I've been in as you get into a senior position, you start to become one of those people that is like reviewing work, right, and looking at things. And my favorite part of that whole show is when there's the draft of the novel, and I forget his name, but the author goes to
Yeah, the
goes
journalist.
the journalist goes to look at the
Yeah.
two drafts, and one is from Beard and one is from Ted. And the one from Beard just has like, oh, a few notes, and there's like 1,000 sticky notes throughout the
Yeah.
book. Yeah. And then Ted's is just on the front. It's like, love it. The book is perfect. Only thing is I changed the title. It wasn't about me. It never was. I'm like, oh my God. Like, that is
That's right.
that is like leadership to me
But
summed up. Like, trust your
that
fucking
is
team, man. Right. Like, if you hire people to do
right.
content and good shit, like if there's no spelling errors and you trust them, let them do what they do.
No, like take a step further and go, I don't want the credit for what happened.
That too, right?
I
Yeah,
am
exactly.
leaving.
Yes.
I have this opportunity of going and saying, look what I did, right?
That's
But
it.
if you're a leader that is really in the game because you want others to be successful and you want to help your teams perform at the highest level they can,
Mm-hmm.
you take blame and you give credit, right? Like you
That's
you
it.
don't
Yeah.
you don't do it. And that was a perfect scenario.
I
Like
loved
I
it.
remember that going
Yeah,
like,
that summed everything up for me. It was just like, let your team do what they do, and it's not about you, right? And also,
that meme like I almost been like, that's it.
yeah, exactly. That's the one. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
that's the
exactly what
one.
you're
Just being
talking
like,
about. And
yes.
also in this scenario for me, I'm like, oh, the author or the journalist is like, he's the one producing this piece of content. And then Ted's just going, yeah, I looked at it and it's great because this is what you do. So just change the title because
Yeah,
it's about the team.
true.
Right. And that's something that stuck out
That's
to me
right.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause not there's been so many points in my career where in product marketing where it's like, yeah, feedback's great. You need to grow, you need to work as a team. But then, where's that line between micromanagement and teamwork, right? Where there's been times where it's like, oh, this word should be removed. And it's not even like a controversial word. It's just like a word. And it almost feels like people need to put their stamp on stuff to feel like they were part of it, where it's just like, listen, if you hire somebody and they're on the team and you trust them, sure, there might be some growing pains, but after the first 3-4 months and they're on board and that's what they do, let them do what they do.
That's and it goes to trust. It goes to having not having fear. You know what I mean? Like it really goes to,
Absolutely.
if you it as a leader in this environment, because the problem with marketing is that everyone thinks they can do it, right? Like,
I know, yeah.
seriously.
They really do. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
But
that.
if you're not like, if you're hiring, people that are supposed to know what they're doing, and as a leader you're not setting a clear vision of where you're going, right? And you're providing the context of what is it this for,
Hmm.
then that's probably why you're having to micromanage people,
That's right.
because they are not understanding where you're wanting to go.
Well,
right?
that's it.
So
Yeah, totally. And you can, I feel like it's one of those things where if you do that upfront work, to your point, it's like, yeah, at the beginning, we're going to tear stuff apart together. We're going to tear it down, rebuild it, tear it down, rebuild it. Stuff like building out your personas or your ideal customer profiles or your branding, your strategy, getting the, long term mission and that North Star from your C suite. Like all of these things come together. And, whether you do it annually, quarterly, just like rip things apart and rebuild it together. And then once that foundation is in place, just like, here's the foundation. This is what you base everything off of. Now just go do what you do best. And of course, we'll review stuff because sometimes there's spelling errors. We all know a second, third set of eyes is great, but you don't need to be tearing stuff down again every time, because what are you doing? Build it right the first time and then use that as your blueprint moving forward.
well, I don't think that the whole reviewing for spelling mistakes is true anymore in 2022. You can just go to ChatGPT and say, revise this for grammar and don't rewrite anything, and that will
Right.
tell
Yeah.
you if it's good or not. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Yeah,
you
exactly.
don't need you
Yeah.
don't need a proofreader in a way in
No, you
that
don't.
sense, you know.
Yeah. I've got,
Yeah, yeah.
and even like,
No,
all the
it's
apps like the Grammarlies that we use are now every SaaS and their mother now has, Chat GPT 4 API integrated directly into it. Right. So, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, you're right. It's there. Um, so yeah, we'll get to that. I haven't even asked a question yet because we're having such an engaging conversation. One more Ted
Yeah.
Lasso thing, just one more quick one.
Yeah, yeah, of
Jamie,
course.
Jamie Tart, do 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 do, Jamie Tart, do 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 do. I love those.
Yes.
I love
The
those
the
little
arc of
songs.
the arc of that character is the best, right? Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
best in my
There's so
opinion.
many,
Yeah.
and like how Ted and him. Anyway, I think we could do an entire
Just on
podcast on
Ted, yeah.
just Ted Lasso and leadership, I think, and
Agreed.
teamwork. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into some actual questions now. Um,
Ooh.
yeah. Ooh. Why product marketing or marketing in general? Like, why did Ricardo, 10 years ago, whenever that was, go, all right,
Hmm.
this is it.
I think I always without knowing loved helping people like just make what they're making better. I think that's where it came from. Um, I looked at, there's two parts to it. Like one, I do have a perspective in the world. So when I started, I was like 15 years old, and I took a camera, a film camera, dating myself here. Started learning how to take photography, and that
VHS.
was
Yeah.
yeah, it's and I started photography, and then just you having a perspective in the world and telling a story was really engaging to me before cell phones and things like that. So I kind of that gravitated me toward advertising, right? Which was very cool at the time. We still had newspapers and TV ads that were part of the culture in general. So, but then once I learned about the internet, I just really got engaged about helping, people take ideas and grow them. I really like that. And I think that's the best place if you're a marketer. That is your superpower. You help people that to have a problem, solve a problem with people that have a problem to meet.
Mm.
And then the world of this person that has the problem is better. And then the world of the person that's solving the problem is better. And you're like the person helping that happen, right? And you do that with creativity because you have to stand out in the marketplace. I feel like he hits all the points to me, and you do that in a team. So you have to you can never do marketing alone. You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
people keep talking about that, but like, yeah, you can, you shouldn't, right? You want multiple perspectives. You want, to have people challenge your worldviews. You like it's such a dynamic place, and you get to learn so much from other people. Like I work from alpaca farms to like people doing biochemistry to trust, apps in Silicon Valley, right? Like to tattooing. Like I've been exposed to a world that I find fascinating, and for me, the common thread is human behavior and connection and storytelling, all you know in there. So I don't
Yeah,
know if that made sense.
it does because I feel like what drew me to it originally were similar things. Being a musician in the past life, it was a creativity and creating something from nothing and telling a cool story. But it's something I thought about more recently, and I think this and let me know if you think this is accurate to what you just said. But for me, it's that kind of everlasting curiosity of the world, and also a little bit of anthropology. Like I'm just so fascinated by people, and
Yeah.
working with people and seeing what makes them tick and why, and kind of the psychology behind that as well. And yeah, for me, yeah, curiosity and people, and storytelling is fun, right? It's fun to build out a story, and to see how it resonates, and how people react to
Well,
it.
you want to you see the people's reaction, right? Like I was very young when I love like one the way I think about is I love to think about how people are thinking, like what is the
Yeah,
voice in their head and what they tell themselves to do things. And so yeah, totally. I think that is part of this. You need to know your audience, right? Like if you don't know your audience, then anything you say could fall flat, right? So
100%.
I think that's part of definitely a challenge that I enjoy. Um, and then I think I don't know, as the whole creativity and making an impact and seeing people like they got what you had to say, you show them something, they feel something, and you see that happening. I think that has reward in it.
Kind of
I
that
think
light
that's
bulb moment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I remember very early age, I worked in a political campaign,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you could like from you like working on your computer making like a billboard, then you walk in the street and you see it, and then like people talk about it, and so I remember that loop there early on career, like kind of got me into this thing. And now you social content, you have feedback right away,
Yeah,
so
totally,
it's
totally.
neat.
It is neat. Um, and I think about that, that's a really good point. And I think about well, we worked together a few times in the past, but working at a place like Hayabusa, where it was a very, I don't know what the right term, hardcore, I guess, is a good term for it. Like a
Yeah,
hardcore
yeah.
users, right? People that would buy the gloves and use some of the rash guards and jiu-jitsu gis when they're practicing. And man, some of the reactions you get when you're dropping a new product or dropping a new color line, or like that's where it's like, oh wow, like what we say and how we approach this like really impacts the market, and we need
Well,
to we need to understand that, right?
yeah, I remember like when we launched the Marvel line, right? Like we were working on that for a long time and just, you're curious, you're nervous. People love Marvel, but now you're like infusing that into boxing gloves and you're, trying to tell a story about, them being the heroes of the story. And it's a very premium product for a audience that is known to not necessarily spend tons of money
Right.
on their gloves, right? So it's a big challenge that, and yeah, and then you just see the reaction, people flipping out about it, and
Right. Yeah.
product flying off the shelf, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's
it's
working. It's working.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's working because
Yeah.
it takes months for you to get to a place, and then when you do it, then it's like, and it works, and you go like,
Right. That launch day, you're
yes,
like, okay, here we go. Here's months of work and blood, sweat, and tears. Literally
yeah,
blood, because we're dealing with boxing gloves sometimes,
that's
right?
right,
And then it's
yeah,
like, okay, here we go. So yeah, that's a really good point. Um, that's a good segue to my next question. Is
oh
again,
yeah,
we're off the cuff here, so we're going to be
that's
asking
it,
some hard hitting questions. Not really, not at all.
perfect.
But biggest success in your career for you? Like what's that moment you look back on and you go, oh, that was my biggest success. And it doesn't have to be like financial success or campaign success, but like for
Mhm.
you, like what was that moment where you're like, okay, this is the best day so far of my career?
Yeah. Well, when I look back now, I feel that the biggest thing that I'm proud of is the agency that I built inside St. Lawrence College, right? I think that was for me the biggest thing. Someone believed in me and the vision that I had, and I created an infrastructure for a student run agency that has the soul of what I worked on for like 4 or 5 years is still there.
Yeah.
And it's like it's been 5 years I haven't been there. You know what I mean? Like, and you can still see like the rituals that I created with like a new team joining it, and we making a video of introducing. They are still doing those things, right? So I feel like I am very proud of being able to have been able to see something and then work very hard
Mm,
to like defy all the odds too, because running project inside a learning institution, a government learning institution, right, is very difficult. There's a lot of red tape. So I was able to navigate so many worlds in that sense.
Mm,
But at the same time, create the experience for the students that were there, and for the clients that those students were working with. Right, we created students got to do real work, real marketing work for
mhm.
real clients in the community, and it was a win-win-win-win-win situation, right? And everybody had a great experience to have relationships with everyone that worked with me there. And I think for me, biggest success was creating that environment and then seeing it stand and grow and evolve without me,
Right.
but with
That
the same principles.
legacy sticking there and the growth from that. Yeah, that's awesome. And I going through the process, like I say, of a bigger institution with a lot of different departments and I mean, red tape, let's be honest, right? Because that's just how big companies and governments work, and that's okay. But learning how to navigate that, like, it's so important in any business. Could be a business of 30 people or a company of 10,000, but there's always processes and ways to go through it and things to learn about how to get there, right? How do I expedite this project? Who do I talk to? What's the process that I can like get this done efficiently, more quickly, and everyone's happy?
And marketing in a way helped me do that kind of stuff, because we, like, if you look at it, oh, I have an audience, right,
Mm-hmm.
of a board, or I have an audience of, the people that will unlock the budget for me, and then I was able to tell them the story that I needed them to hear, to, based on the product that I was offering, right? So it's actually the same principles,
That's right.
but just using internal communications to drive a project forward. So I think that was always great. And again, I didn't do it alone. I had a team. I had people that believed in the, in the vision, and also people that believed in me and the team. Like, yeah, this seems pretty crazy, but I think you guys can do it, right? And you go with it. So, not it wasn't, again, Ricardo superhero, like, with, it's more about that environment and the people that we all saw something
Yeah.
that didn't exist, and we built it. And
Yeah.
I think
That's
that
huge.
that's that for me. um, that's one of the things I like to do.
Yeah, I love to do that too. There's a lot of fun in that, right? And like a lot of problem solving and building something out and working with people. All those things we talked about a few minutes ago. Okay, shifting
Right.
gears now, a total 180. Uh, biggest failure. Is there a
Biggest
moment when you can
failure.
say like, and I know like, we say when we fail, we
Yeah.
learn, and we do. But is there a moment when you go, oh man, like that hit hard. I learned a lot, but that was one where,
Yeah.
yeah, that hit me hard.
Um, I tend to be such an adaptable person, man, that I like I think it's hard. Like, I see everything as learning for sure, but like, um I think maybe failure wise was not, I don't think that was necessarily a failure. It turned out to be good. There's some things that you like happen to you, and you're like, that sucks. And then 3 months later, you go like, something else much better just happened
Right.
because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not doing that now. Um,
Well, and that, I think about this too because I know it's to me it's kind of a silly question and a loaded question where, but I think about I saw this graph, must have been on LinkedIn or Instagram or something, and it's like what people think, and it's like
mhm,
success to like starting to and going to success is like this straight line, but really it's just a bunch of squigglies, and you slowly kind of go up and learn and sprinkle in some imposter syndrome there. And I still think about this every day for myself, when I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
to students or talking to colleagues, coworkers, trying to mentor folks and young people getting into it. And they say, oh, like, how did you get to where you are? And I'm like, I don't even know, to be honest. I feel like I've just been like learning and failing. And like, I have to actually stop and think about the moments where I'm like, oh yeah, that was successful. I did really well there. Because we are always our own worst critics as humans,
Yeah.
I think, in general. But yeah, thinking about all those little, I guess, what could be perceived as failures, but really are, and again, just not to sound
Well, I
cheesy,
can
but they
tell
are
you.
learning experiences, right? You fall down, you
Well,
get back up.
I can tell you, like, right now, I'm struggling with things. You know what I mean? Like, I've always, like, that's something, like,
Yes,
nothing
same.
was easy. Like, I'm
Yeah,
trying to elevate how I lead. I'm trying to elevate how I create experiences for my team. I'm trying to elevate how I help the executive team in my company see the world, because I have
Mm.
some perceptions and some and it's not easy, man. Like I'm not succeeding at it immediately. I'm having to try so many different things, and sometimes I say something in a way that is so clear in my mind, and it just goes like boop, and you go like, how? Right? So I can tell you right now, like I'm trying, but you see, like, I'm trying something that it's like I'm trying to fight for what I believe it's the way to move forward, which needs change in other people's minds,
Hmm.
right? So I feel like I'm not succeeding at it right now. I'm trying. I'm definitely trying, but
But I
there's
bet you,
days that I
Ricardo,
get
like,
home.
I bet you there's an outsider. Sorry to cut you off.
Eh,
That's, I get an idea. I'm like, oh, let
I
me
have a
jump in.
wife. I have a
Yeah.
wife. It's fine, and I'm used to
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
See, in my relationship, it's the other way around. I could say I have a wife. My wife says I have a husband. Yeah, I have a husband. I get it. But there's probably people that look from the outside, and would say, "Man, you made some serious progress with trying to do some of your influencing, I guess, for lack of a better term,
Right.
internally." And I think it's, for better or for worse, because I feel like I'm very similar to you in that regard, where I say, "Oh man, I've been trying this and that and the other, and I'm just not getting through." But I think probably making more progress, and we think maybe just not as much as we would like. And I think that's another really good point from a product marketing perspective is, and I don't like the term influence, because I feel like influencing just kind of, it makes me feel like a shady 80s car salesman. Like, hey, you should buy this Dodge Caravan, you'll love it. Like that's what
Right.
influence feels to me. I don't like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
term,
yeah.
but it's the only term I can think of. But you're influencing those internally to get on board with that vision, with that product messaging, with that positioning. All of these um, product marketing, but not buzzwords, but like what we do, right?
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's like sometimes also changing people's perspective on things is very difficult, right? That's why we
Totally.
go, oh, you want profitable sales? Sell to the people who are already selling. They already believe in you, right? But if you need to steal from competitors, and you need to internally, right? Like there's people that see the world a certain way, right? And you're saying, oh, look, we need to be more customer centric. The fuck does that mean? We need to invest in our culture. Like, people should not need to be feeling good about working here. It's like, no, that's not what I mean, right? Like there's people that have different perspectives on what those things are, and the purposes that they
Totally.
have.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And you know
100%.
what I mean? Like, and I in every place I've been, I had to like understand how to navigate that, so we can again put the customer at the center
I
and
know.
be,
Yeah.
and
That's
it's a
that's such a
that is
good
part of
point.
the
Yeah.
you
That's
know
such a good point. They go, oh, we have to be more customer centric. Yeah. What the hell does that mean? Like, when I hear that, I'm like, what are you currently doing to your customers? Are you going to their house and slapping them in the face? Like, are you treating them poorly? Because I no, I don't think there's any company in the planet that's treating them poorly. And like, we got to be more customer centric. It's like, yeah, what does that mean? Like, is that more engagement with customers? Does that mean we need to, have some customer appreciation? Do we need to sell more? Do we have to have better retention? Do we need to be stickier? Right? Like, it's such a broad spectrum. And to your
it
point
is.
of company culture, I said this a long time ago. Just because your office, I know we're in the remote world a bit now, but like just because your office has brand new hardwood floors and you throw a pizza party once a month does not equate to company culture, right? It's about those relationships and creating, as leaders, those safe spaces for people to voice their concerns, to talk about what's not working, to talk about challenges they're having, and even in their personal lives, right? Like, how's your mental health doing? Are you feeling okay, right? There's so many things that contribute to company culture. Um, and I've only ever really experienced good company culture a handful of times, right? And just to let viewers know, I've probably had over 25 jobs in my life, by the way, as not all in marketing, but just in general. But yeah, like that cultural side of things is arguably, for me, in my experience, the most important and also the most difficult to do right.
Well, I think it kind of goes back to that idea of like what the corporate world likes. It likes to measure things that are easy to measure, and culture, it's not one of those easy to measure things.
So true, so
And
true.
again, I am a
Culture's
pretty
up
big
15% this quarter. What?
exactly, exactly. That's growing, growing in your feet. That culture. What?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, right.
I yeah, like I think that's the thing is like how do you run an organization that those values are so strong that it does people that don't see the world that way, they don't understand that that translates into productivity, that translates into customer satisfaction, that translates into more sales, that translates into better ideas, that translates into faster innovation, that translates into so many positive things.
Hmm.
But again, it might be one this time, might be another time. It's not industrial, right? I feel like that's the thing that I'm starting to realize more and more is that we've been indoctrinated even in how we work to be industrialists, right?
Yep.
And I think that sometimes we look at the world as like, oh, we need to disassemble these things and put people to like do certain things a certain way and measure everything, right? And break down the tasks. But there's with AI coming for our jobs, I think that that is a very fucking dangerous thing because as soon as you can manualize something, as soon as you can put a set of steps to do something, that job can be automated. That
That's
job
it.
has already, some of them have been already shipped to cheaper labor,
Oh yeah.
and now it's gonna go another way, right? So I think if you want to create impact, if you want to grow, if you want to not, you know, be irrelevant, we're it feels like for me, sorry, I'm ranting for a long time,
Ramp it up.
that we're in the same intersection that we were when the internet showed up.
I agree.
And then we had that like social media thing happening there, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then nothing's very significant happened other than, that evolved. But I think we're in this like injunction point here that it's significant. It's
Yeah,
significant. And
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious to see where it goes. And I agree with you. It feels like I was just a young fella when the .com boom happened. Just a kid, just a child. But yeah, this feels similar to that. Like it's very disruptive. And I crack jokes too, and we all crack jokes. It's like, oh, AI is going to take over the world, a meme, and then it shows AI, and it's like they give me six fingers every time I try to do an AI generated picture, right? Yeah, that's the joke.
yeah,
But the thing I also is like, this is the worst it's ever going to be, right? It's not going to get worse. It's only just going to get exponentially better and fast. Like this isn't going to happen over 5-10 years. Like every single day, it's getting better at everything.
that's it. It's like in the internet when in the beginning in the 90s, people were like, well, it's slow and it's lame and it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like
You
it
got to
has no
dial up to your phone
potential.
line
Yeah.
for an hour. Yeah,
It's MVP, you know what I mean? It's MVP. It's
that's right.
but the scale and speed of this thing,
Totally. Like if we
it's
consider this the MVP, it's already taking white collar jobs, right?
that's right. Well, and
Crazy.
look, I'm all for taking the shitty parts of my job. You know what I mean? Like, I
Same.
hate nurturing millions of platforms. I think that that is the worst part of any marketers. Like, we have to do that thing, right? Like, I think that nurturing all those, you know what I mean? Like, and if you're not creating meaningful connections, if you're just having to be present, you can be
Yep.
present now with less effort, right? So,
I agree. Yeah.
I
And
don't think you
that's
should be
that's another
present.
topic for a show we could talk about forever
Yeah,
is just the amount of third party SaaS vendors that we use these days is ludicrous.
crazy.
Yeah.
No, it's so I feel like there's an opportunity for marketers to stand up a little more to because we're the customer representative inside the company. You know what I mean? Like we're
Totally.
the voice. We're people that matter that they want to make sure that the customer's voice is present internally, right?
That's it. Yep.
At least that's what I think marketing is.
I agree.
A lot of people might disagree, but I think we have a chance to leave it better than we found it. So
Yeah.
I think that's and we are in a again, whenever there's disruption, there's opportunity,
That's it.
you know.
I agree.
So
And I
just
think
hope the more people run to the top versus the bottom.
that's
That's
it.
it.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. Like for me, like product marketing is, I'm trying to think of a better way to visualize it, but I just haven't got there yet. But I think about, a Venn diagram with four circles in it, where at the top we have internal stakeholders, at the bottom we have the market, which is current customers, prospects. Then we have, sales, marketing over here, and then the product team and product managers here, and product marketing is just like right in the middle of that. And it's just bringing all those voices to the table to get like a defined goal and direction for all things messaging and product messaging related for the entire company. Okay, so we're getting low on time here, Ricardo, because I'm not paying for Zoom yet. So people want to start sending money to me that are watching this now and having these be a bit longer. I'm all for it. But quick thing before the outro, I want to play a little word association game. So just one word.
Let's go.
And one word back. All right, ready? Campaign.
Excitement.
Oh, nice. Go to market.
Assumptions.
Okay. Synergy.
Barf.
Yes, that's my reaction too. Stakeholders.
Think they're more important than they are. It's not a word, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so quick thing, stakeholders for me, when I first heard that word, when I first started working, all I could think of was actual people holding steaks, like edible steaks. Like no, like
actual steaks,
like food steaks, cow steaks.
Yeah.
So every time I hear stakeholders now, I just picture a bunch of people in a meeting room with like a medium rare steak being like, all right, let's get this over with.
They will feel more important to me if they were holding steaks.
Yeah, if every stakeholder brought a steak to a meeting, you're going to get your way every time.
Attention is there.
That's right. On that note, Ricardo, thank you so much for joining us on the first episode of Off the Cuff.
Awesome.
We'll keep it going in the future. Yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.